Alright, I'm about to watch Lord of the Rings for the first time, and I just figured why not talk about the other Hobbit films, the first two, and what I thought of them. And if you don't know my thoughts on The Hobbit 3, pretty much I thought it was good. The only major complaint I had with it was that the battle just went on forever. It's a 2.5 hour movie. The battle started directly at the hour mark. It goes until 15 minutes before the movie ends. Too long. Did not like it. But I still had fun. I still had fun watching it. It did take me out of the film a little bit, but aside from that, it was a fun movie. The first Hobbit film, I liked. I thought it was fun. It had a childlike feel to it, which I have come to expect, because this is based on a kid's book, and this is not Lord of the Rings. I hate it when people constantly compare these movies to Lord of the Rings. It's like, this was never meant to be Lord of the Rings. This is based on a children's book. This was made for Tolkien's kids. And so I don't see why people are complaining. This isn't the Lord of the Rings I want. This isn't the Middle-earth movie I watched in 2001, 2002, 2003. It's not. This is based on a kid's film. I mean, kid's book. I don't see what the complaint is about. But yeah, the first film, I liked. It could have been improved on. It needed a little bit more action scenes to it. But aside from that, it was heavy on exposition. It had a lot of exposition. It was like, who's Thorin? He's the grandson to the king under the mountain of Erebor, until Smaug came in, and the dragon, and he took all the mountain for himself, and took all the gold for himself. The dwarves were left to fend for themselves, and the elves didn't help them, so now the dwarves hate them, yada yada yada. Who's Azog the Defiler? Is Thorin. It has a conflict with Azog. It's heavy on the exposition. It could have been lightened. It could have been spaced out more through the movie. I mean, it's balanced well enough, but nothing that I'd say was groundbreaking exposition. Like, none. And yeah, the dwarves, they're pretty interchangeable. It's like, you got Thorin, you got Balin, you got Keely, you got Feely, you got Sleepy, Dopey, Doc, Grumpy, Slouchy, Sneezy. It's got all those dwarves. So, the first one, I liked it, had problems, but I thought it was fun. The second one, I love the second one. I thought the second one was brilliantly paced. It was just beautiful. Every single shot, even in the spider scene, was shot beautifully. It was amazing. I loved looking at it. A lot more action, like a lot heavier action on this. Like, in the first film, you saw the action, but you don't really, I don't know what the right word is, you don't recognize it as action immediately, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's coming across in my perspective, but it's like your brain doesn't register the action. It's like you see the action, it's like, yeah, that was there. It doesn't register, so you don't remember it that well. The second film, you remember every single action scene. Like, I remember there's this action scene with the chase of a bear. There's a spider scene, there's a dragon scene, there's an orc chase, there's a barrel scene, the barrel scene is unbelievable. I loved, if you have not seen the barrel scene, type in The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, barrel chase. Amazing scene, love it, it's so good, it's really good. Then you got another orc chase, you got another dragon scene, it's action all over the place, it's brilliantly paced. The characters I actually remember a lot more. None of the dwarves I remember, but yeah, I could care less. It's like the other dwarves aren't the main focus. The main focus is Thorin, Bilbo, and Gandalf in this movie, so you got that. There's a romance going on between a dwarf and an elf named Tauriel, and it's not the best romance. I'd say it's pretty weak, but it didn't take anything away from the movie. It was just there. It didn't really impact. I wasn't like, wow, why do they have this in? Oh my god, this is taking forever. Move on to the dragon scene. I was never like that. It was just like, okay, there's a romance. Hey, dragon scene. It didn't really impact anything for me. And while we're on the subject of dragons, Smaug. Holy shit. I don't know where to begin. If you haven't seen Smaug yet, if you haven't heard anything about Smaug and how awesome he is, By God, look on YouTube, the Hobbit Smaug scene. Bilbo and Smaug talking. It is unbelievably powerful. There's this move. When I first saw The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug in theaters, I saw this on the big screen. And by God, is Smaug huge. And you're gonna be you're thinking I'm overreacting right now, but I'm not. He is huge. He is established he has this presence to him that you just look and you're just like, this guy can kill me any minute. And when I was in the theater, true story, when I saw him for the first time, when I saw how big Smaug was underneath the gold, this is when he's like submerged underneath all the gold. He has all the golds on top of him, you can't see any of them. And you see his head come up a little bit, like you see his eye, and then you see the curve of his tail around Bilbo. My heart, I'm not kidding here, my heart started beating pretty fast, and I was actually a little intimidated. No joke. I shouldn't say intimidated. I was scared a little bit. I don't know why. I know this is a movie. It's stupid to get scared over this. But the thing about this villain that I think separates other villains in movies is that, well, this guy doesn't have much of a backstory. We don't know anything about his character. I mean, all he wants is gold. That's it. And he's hard to bargain with. He at least has presence to him, to the point where you're like, this guy is bad, he can kill me, this thing can really, like, hurt you. And if more villains had a presence to them like this, I would be scared at more theater screenings. I wasn't scared to the point where I was, like, shielding my eyes away from the screen. No, I mean, I was just like, shit, this guy is pretty... This guy means business. I was more like that. I wasn't scared, like crying scared or anything. No. But, Smaug, unbelievable. See, you will not regret it. Trust me. I don't care who you are. If you're a fan of Lord of the Rings or not, you're gonna love Smaug, no matter what. And so, and one thing I want to bring up is that these films were originally made as 2 films, which I think would have been better. But Peter Jackson decided to split them into 3. The thing about that is, every film seems extended. It seems like each film is the extended edition of the other. It doesn't... You can see how this can be one movie. I mean, the first film is the exposition and rising action. The Desolation of Smaug is the rising action and the climax. The Battle of the Five Armies is the climax and the falling action. And the resolution. If you were to take the first part, if you were to split The Hobbit and An Unexpected Journey and the Battle of the Five Armies in half, and merge and remove the other half of it, and merge that other half with Desolation of Smaug, and then split Desolation of Smaug in half, that would have been better. That may be confusing to other people, but that's honestly how I feel the movie should have been split. Like, split the first and third Hobbit films in half and merge them with the second one, then split the second one in half. It's like, I think it would have been better. A lot of things would have been left out that I don't think were necessary. And I think it would just be a much more fluid movie than this, which is just like, it's heavy on the explaining. These films are heavy on the explaining. Which isn't necessarily to say a bad thing. I still really enjoy these films. No, I do admit they have problems. That, like, first film could have used a little bit more action, and the third film could have used a little bit less of action. Because the third film is just action, 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 action scene, explosion, spear, 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 kill, 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 action, action. It never takes a breath. And the second film, that was perfectly balanced. And so the series, all in all, wonderful trilogy. It has problems, but still enjoyed them. Great films. If you haven't seen the second one, The Desolation of Smaug, see it. It's the only one you really need to see, unless you really want to see all of them together. Because if you say, I want to see more than Desolation of Smaug, then you have to watch all the other films. You can't just be like, I want to watch Desolation of Smaug and the Battle of the Five Armies. You can't do that. So yeah, trilogy overall, really good. Thanks for watching.